Good afternoon, students. Today we are going to discuss about cholelithiasis, which is otherwise called as gallbladder stones, and cholecystitis. And today's topic is divided into two parts. Part 1 will deal with general features of gallbladder and about cholelithiasis, and part 2 will deal with cholecystitis, which includes acute and chronic cholecystitis. Now coming on to gallbladder. What is the gallbladder? Gallbladder is an elongated sac that lies in the fossa on the inferior surface of the right hepatic lobe, and it measures about 7 to 10 centimeters in length. And this gallbladder is covered by peritoneum over its inferior aspect, but is directly opposed to the surface of the liver along its superior aspect. So the free laying portion of the gallbladder is covered by peritoneum, whereas the part of the gallbladder that is directly opposed to the surface of the liver lacks the peritoneal covering. In that case, it is called as adventitia. And gallbladder in general has three parts. They are all fundus, body and neck. And the part of the gallbladder that connects body with the neck is called as infundibulum. Next, the dome-like fundus projects beyond the inferior border of the liver. The body of the gallbladder projects upward, backward and to the left, approaching the porta hepatis. The neck corresponds to the tapered portion of the gallbladder. And coming on to histology of the gallbladder, histologically it has three layers. They are all mucosa, fibromuscular layer and serosa or adventitia. The free laying portion has serosa, whereas the portion of gallbladder that is tightly opposed to the surface of the liver has adventitia. Then coming on to mucosa of the gallbladder, the mucosa of the gallbladder is lined by a single layer of simple columnar epithelium, and the whole mucosal epithelium is arranged into numerous interlacing folds, which imparts the honeycomb pattern to the surface of the mucosa of the gallbladder. Small outpouching of the gallbladder mucosa may penetrate into the underlying muscular layer and is termed as Rokitansky ash of sinuses. The gallbladder lacks a discrete muscularis mucosa and submucosa. So, the gallbladder has no muscularis mucosa and submucosa. A peritoneal covering except where the gallbladder lies adjacent to or is embedded within the liver. So, the free laying portion of gallbladder has a peritoneal covering, whereas the portion of the gallbladder that is tightly opposed to the surface of the liver lacks peritoneal covering. And this is the histology of the gallbladder, in which you can see mucosa, muscularis propria and subserosa. And here the surface mucosa is thrown into numerous folds and they are lined by simple columnar epithelium. And just below the mucosal surface and the mucosal epithelium is the lamina propria, and next to that lamina propria you can see muscularis propria, and below the muscularis propria is the subserosa. Next, coming on to gallstones. Gallstones are otherwise called as cholelithiasis. So, coming on to gallstone afflict 10 to 20% of adult population in developed countries. The vast majority of gallstones, that is more than 80%, they are all silent, which means without the clinical signs and symptoms. And most individuals remains free of biliary pain or other complications for decades. And this gallbladder stones are of three types. They are all pure, mixed and combined stones. So what are all these stones? Pure stones are the type of gallstones which is made of single constituents, which can be either cholesterol or can be calcium carbonate or can be calcium bilirubinate. Whereas mixed gallstones are those which will have more than one type of constituents. And combined stones are the gallstones which will have a nucleus which is made of one type of constituent and the surrounding shell which is made of mixture or different type of constituents. And taking into account these three types of gallstones, mixed gallstones are most common type of gallstone which constitute about 80%. But taking the main constituents into account, about 90% of the stones are called as cholesterol stones that contain more than 50% of crystalline cholesterol monohydrate. The rest are pigment stones and are composed predominantly of bilirubin calcium salts. And coming on to risk factors of cholesterol stones. Talking about demography, Northern Europeans, North and South Americans, Native Americans and Mexican Americans are most commonly affected by this cholesterol gallstones. And advancing age, female sex hormones, female gender, intake of oral contraceptives, pregnancy, obesity and metabolic syndrome, rapid weight reduction, gallbladder stasis, inborn disorders of bile acid metabolism and hyperlipidemia syndromes are the risk factors which constitute for formation of cholesterol stones. In simple, we say fat, fatty, fertile and female. This is a mnemonic to know about the risk factors of the cholesterol stone formation. Whereas coming on to pigment stones, talking about demography, Asians are most commonly affected than Westerners and rural people are most commonly affected when compared to urban people. And disorders like chronic hemolytic syndromes, biliary infections and gastrointestinal disorders which include ileal disease like Crohn's disease, ileal resection or bypass surgeries and cystic fibrosis with pancreatic insufficiency. So these are all the risk factors for formation of pigment stones. Next, coming on to pathogenesis. Coming on to pathogenesis of the cholesterol stones, these are all 4 important steps in formation of cholesterol stones. The first thing is supersaturation of bile with cholesterol. So this is the first step that takes place. So the bile must be supersaturated with cholesterol in order to form a cholesterol stone. Then there will be a hypomotility of the gallbladder which promotes the nucleation. And third thing is cholesterol nucleation in the bile is accelerated. And fourth one is hyper secretion of mucus in the gallbladder which traps the nucleated crystals leading to their aggregation into a stone formation. So these are all the 4 important steps in formation of the cholesterol stones. Then coming on to morphology of the gallstones. Coming on to morphology of cholesterol stones, pure cholesterol stones are pale yellow, round to ovoid and will have a finely granular, hard external surface which on transection reveals a glistening, radiating crystalline palisade. With increasing proportion of calcium carbonate, phosphates and bilirubin, these cholesterol stones will show discoloration and may be lamellated and grey white to black. And most often multiple stones are present that ranges up to several centimeters in diameter. Rarely there will be a single much larger stone that may fill the whole of the fundus of the gallbladder. And surface of the multiple stones may be rounded or faceted because of tight opposition with other stones. And stones composed largely of cholesterol or radiolucent. So the stones which have a predominant part as cholesterol or radiolucent. Sufficient calcium carbonate is found in 10 to 20% of cholesterol stones to render them radio opaque. So when there is increased constituent of gallstone which is by calcium carbonate, then the stone becomes radio opaque. But pure cholesterol stones are the stones which have more of a cholesterol or radiolucent. Then coming on to pigment stones. The pigment stones are classified as either black stones or brown stones. Black stones are found in sterile gallbladder bile and brown stones are found in infected intrahepatic or extrahepatic ducts. Black stones usually contain oxidized polymers of calcium salts of unconjugated bilirubin, small amount of calcium carbonate, calcium phosphate, mucin glycoprotein and some cholesterol monohydrate crystals. Whereas the brown pigment stone contain pure calcium salts of unconjugated bilirubin, mucin glycoprotein, a substantial cholesterol fraction and calcium salts of palmitate and stearate. Black stones are rarely greater than 1.5 cm in diameter and are almost invariably present in greater number. and there exists an inverse relationship between the size and number of the gallstones. Brown stones tend to be laminated and soft and may have soap-like or greasy consistency. Because of calcium carbonates and phosphates, approximately 50 to 75% of black stones are radio opaque. Brown stones which contain calcium soaps are radiolucent. So cholesterol stones and brown stones are radiolucent, whereas black stones are radio opaque. So this is the morphology of mixed stone and the pigment stone. The section which is labeled as A shows the morphology of a mixed stone, whereas the section which is labeled as B is showing the morphology of pigment stone, which is black in color. And these are all different types of gallstone in a single section. You can see pure stones, you can see mixed stone as well as the combined stone. Then coming on to complications of gallbladder stones or cholelithiasis. What happens when there is no treatment for this gallbladder stones? So they can result in acute cholecystitis or chronic cholecystitis, or they can lead on to hydrops of gallbladder, which means the gallbladder will be converted into a bag-like structure filled with fluid. And fourth one, they can result in biliary fistula, which can further lead on to biliary peritonitis. And next, a syndrome can be a result of gallbladder stones, which is called as Mersey syndrome, which means sometimes the impacted gallstone in the cystic duct can cause compression of the common hepatic duct, resulting in an obstructive jaundice, and this syndrome is called as Mersey syndrome. So these are all the important complications of gallbladder stones. So this ends session 1. Thank you. Next, moving on to part 2 of today's session about cholecystitis. First, we will see what is acute cholecystitis. Acute cholecystitis is an acute destructive process typically associated with ischemia, congestion, edema, epithelial denudation, vascular leakage and fibrinous change. The vast majority of acute cholecystitis, about 95%, are related to gallstones. There is another entity which is called as acute acalculous cholecystitis, which accounts for 5% of all cases of acute cholecystitis. So in general, acute cholecystitis is divided into two types: acute calculous cholecystitis and acute acalculous cholecystitis, among which acute calculous cholecystitis is the most common type, whereas acute acalculous cholecystitis account for just 5% of all the cases of acute cholecystitis. Coming on to pathogenesis of acute cholecystitis, that is acute calculous cholecystitis. We know in acute calculous cholecystitis there is already formation of gallstones. As a consequence of gallstone formation and obstruction, there are something which are all called as mucosal phospholipases, which present in the mucosa of the gallbladder, hydrolyze luminal lecithins into lysolecithins. So the first step in pathogenesis is conversion of luminal lecithins into lysolecithins, as a result of which the inflammatory cascade is activated and leading on to disruption of mucosal protective layer, rendering the mucosa vulnerable to the detergent actions of bile salts. So this is the main pathogenesis of acute calculous cholecystitis. And also there is distension of the gallbladder and disturbance of the motility of the gallbladder, which also leads to obstruction of the venous flow, thus enhancing the injury. So these are all the two types of pathogenesis that are involved in acute calculous cholecystitis. Coming on to clinical findings, predominantly acute calculous cholecystitis occurs in 6th to 7th decade of life, and it is slightly more common in females, and patients usually present with upper outer quadrant pain, nausea, vomiting, and occasionally mild jaundice. And coming on to acute acalculous cholecystitis, it is seen in late adulthood and it is typically seen in severe debilitating conditions such as major trauma, burns, multi-system organ failure, major non-biliary surgeries, cancers, diabetes mellitus, and cases of vasculitis. And coming on to gross morphology or gross changes in case of acute cholecystitis, the gallbladder is often distended and edematous, and the gallbladder wall is thickened and it can be thickened up to 2 centimeters. Mucosal ulcerations are common and can be extensive also. The gallbladder lumen is filled with admixed bile, hemorrhagic material, and turbid fluid and the calculi. And serosa may appear discolored and hemorrhagic. And coming on to microscopic changes, the microscopic changes depends upon the severity and duration of the disease. But there are all some common changes that occur in acute calculous cholecystitis. The mucosa is often eroded. Early uncomplicated acute cholecystitis will show prominent edema, congestion, hemorrhage, and fibrin deposition. Mucosal ulcerations or the necrosis with neutrophilic infiltrate can be seen. Along with this neutrophilic infiltrate, there can be presence of lymphocytes, plasma cells, eosinophils, and pigment-laden macrophages also. So this is the gross picture of acute calculous cholecystitis, and this is the cut open picture of gallbladder, and the lumen of this gallbladder is showing 2 pigment stones, and the luminal mucosa is hemorrhagic and edematous. And coming on to microscopic picture of acute calculous cholecystitis, on the left you can see the surface shows no surface lining epithelium, which means the surface lining epithelium is completely denuded or it is eroded. So this is one of the feature which you will see under microscope in case of acute calculous cholecystitis. And on the right you can see the subepithelial layers showing inflammatory infiltrate, edema, and deposition of fibrinoid material. So these are all the other histopathological features that can be seen in case of acute calculous cholecystitis. Then coming on to complication of acute cholecystitis, they can lead on to perforation or fistula formation. They can result in biliary peritonitis, and they can lead on to a condition which is called as acute gangrenous cholecystitis, in which you will see transmural necrotic changes in gallbladder. And fourth one is they can lead on to empyema formation, which means the gallbladder will be converted into a bag-like structure or a cavity filled with pus. So these are all the complications of acute calculous cholecystitis. And this ends acute cholecystitis. Now coming on to chronic cholecystitis. Chronic cholecystitis is the most commonly encountered disease of the gallbladder, and it is associated with cholelithiasis in more than 90% of cases. So both acute cholecystitis and chronic cholecystitis results mostly from cholelithiasis. And as in case of acute calculous cholecystitis, there is a female predominance in chronic cholecystitis also. And coming on to pathogenesis, the pathogenesis of chronic cholecystitis is slightly different from acute cholecystitis, which means that here the intermittent obstruction and alteration in bile chemistry will lead to mucosal irritation, resulting in microscopic changes that are evident in chronic cholecystitis. In up to 1/3 of the patients, bile cultures are positive, usually for E. coli or enterococci, which means that E. coli and enterococci has a little role in causation of chronic cholecystitis. Then coming on to gross changes, the gallbladder itself may appear nearly normal or can show thickening of the wall. So there will be a subtle change you will see in chronic cholecystitis. In more severe cases, the gallbladder may be shrunken with marked fibrous thickening of the wall and serosal scarring associated with adhesions, and calculi are present in more than 90% of the cases. In less than 1% of cholecystectomies, there is diffuse dystrophic calcification, and this diffuse dystrophic calcification may sometimes convert the whole of the gallbladder into a mass of calcified material or a cystic structure that shows extensive calcification. In that case, it is called as porcelain gallbladder. Now, coming on to microscopy, there is often thickening of the gallbladder wall, and the degree of chronic inflammation varies and is composed predominantly of T lymphocytes along with some plasma cells, histiocytes, and occasional eosinophils. In many cases, however, the inflammation is so scanty that the distinction between the normal gallbladder and the minimal chronic cholecystitis is only subjective. Sometimes you will see admixture of neutrophils with the chronic inflammatory cells. In that case, it is called as chronic active cholecystitis. So, this is the gross picture and microscopic picture of chronic cholecystitis. On the left, you will see a gross picture of chronic cholecystitis, which is showing a cut opened gallbladder filled with multiple gallstones. Whereas on the right, there is a microscopic picture of chronic cholecystitis, which is showing a dense chronic inflammatory cell infiltrate in lamina propria and muscularis propria. And there are all few variants of chronic cholecystitis, and they are all lymphoplasmacytic and sclerosing cholecystitis, AIDS related cholecystitis, follicular cholecystitis, eosinophilic cholecystitis, and xanthogranulomatous cholecystitis, and these are classified based upon the type of inflammatory infiltrate and the cause of the chronic cholecystitis. In follicular cholecystitis, you will see lot of follicle formation, which means lymphoid follicle formation, whereas in eosinophilic cholecystitis, the layer of the gallbladder is infiltrated by extensive eosinophilic infiltrate, whereas the xanthogranulomatous cholecystitis is a kind of chronic cholecystitis in which the whole of the gallbladder wall is infiltrated by plenty of foamy histiocytes. This is the histopathology of eosinophilic cholecystitis, in which you are seeing dense aggregate, in fact sheets of eosinophils infiltrating the wall of the gallbladder. And this is a case of xanthogranulomatous cholecystitis, in which the wall of the gallbladder is infiltrated by plenty of mixed inflammatory cells. Along with that, you can see sheets of foamy histiocytes. So, these are all the few histopathological features and few examples of variants of chronic cholecystitis, and this ends the chronic cholecystitis as well as part 2 of today's session. Thank you. Have a nice day.